So why do we do the silent transmission? What's so important about this silent transmission, this spiritual transmission in silence? And I keep learning over 20 years why this is. And just recently, I had some more understanding and some more insight into it. It's because when we use words, the ego interprets the words. So we can't really understand the words. We think we do, but it's really the ego. Until we're free of the ego, until we're awake to our true nature, then the ego is interpreting the world, it's interpreting our life, and it's interpreting all spiritual teachings, all words that we hear, including all spiritual teachings. So the silent transmission has a way of opening to our true nature. And that's really what we're experiencing. Not me, not my energy, not we're experiencing our true nature, our true being, which is not ego. It's like there's two of us, but there aren't really. There's what we think we are, that everybody, almost the entire human species, feels that they are this individual person surviving in a world and lives for a certain amount of years and is a body mind and has experiences and a past and a history and all that stuff. That's not really what we are. That's a dream. But until we step out of that dream, even though we talk about it and hear about it, we can't really understand it. We can't really experience that, what that is, because the ego is interpreting those words and trying to understand it through the ego. And it cannot do that because it's not the ego. It's something entirely different from the ego. Here we are in the world. In California, fires are burning. In Arizona, the pollution in the air from the smoke is here in Sedona. So a lot of places, the whole Southwest is burning and is in smoke. And yet the truth is that this is nirvana. This is paradise. This is heaven. This is the Garden of Eden. And we cannot experience that. It doesn't even sound like it makes any sense, perceived through the ego. But nirvana, paradise, heaven is not really a place, and it is a place. Because right here with all that stuff, this is still the Garden of Eden. Nothing can change that. But through the ego, we cannot experience it. We cannot see it. We cannot feel it. We do not perceive it, really. And that's what this silent transmission is about. It's about experiencing our true nature, which is not the ego. And as long as we're listening to words and the ego's interpreting it, we're going to be in the ego, thinking we're having a spiritual experience. Now, there's levels of this too. I know because Pedro is so open to this. So what happens when that happens is that's not the ego. That is the true self. All that experience of this light and bliss and peace, that is the true nature. That is our true nature. That is what all of us are. It's not an individual true nature. It's not a self true nature. It's not a separate self at all. It cannot really be described. And yet somehow we do experience it without the interference of words, because words come from ego. They're about separation. And so when we have this experience of this transmission in this silence, the true self that we are is able to be seen somehow. It's always here, but it's not noisy. It's not demanding attention. It just doesn't do that. It just is here, always present. And the way we experience it, it was when the ego steps aside for a moment. So if we don't experience anything in the transmission, the ego is still controlling and holding the reins, because the ego really doesn't want to experience this until it does. It's not the ego that experiences it, but when you experience it, it feels so good that the ego says, okay, that's all right. Okay, I'll go along with that for now. But the process of it is really the end of the ego and the realization of the true self, our true nature. And our true nature has no suffering, just doesn't have any suffering at all, ever. And the ego does. So a lot of us in this process of waking up, the ego part of us, the dream, the illusion of a self, is fighting with our true nature. It's in a battle with our true nature. It doesn't want to relinquish its dream, its control, even though everything that we want is our true nature. But the ego is built for survival. So it wants to survive. And it cannot survive truth. The direct experience of truth. The ego cannot survive that. It will keep coming back, but eventually it just can't stand up to it because it's exposed by truth. So many things happen in these silent transmissions. They work uniquely for you. It's not like a one size fits all thing. It's uniquely for you and what you need. And the reason is because it is your true nature. It is your true self. What would know better what you need than that? And this is not a limited true nature. This is not a limited self. This is not something like the personal self at all. It's unlimited. Its wisdom is infinite, as it is. So whatever happens, whatever you experience, there is always this opening in you, revealing itself to you, revealing what you are to you. And this is why I say, don't pay attention to your thoughts, good or bad, because this is not of thought. The true self has nothing to do with thought. Thought is about separation and ego and illusion and samsara. It's a dream. So we'll begin in silence. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.